This is Mordechai Twersky reporting from Jerusalem. I am being joined by Chaya Benjamin, who is the senior curator of the Judaica department of the Israel Museum, and we are looking together at some of the megillot that exist in the Israel Museum collection, as well as some other Purim items. And I wanted to ask you, Chaya, what are we looking at right now?
This is an Esther Scrolls that was painted by Herlingen. He was a Jewish artist in the 18th century. But what is unique about this Esther Scrolls is that it's done on parchment and by sepia illustration. It's very, very small. Each one of you need a magnifier to look on the paintings. Each one is less than half centimeter size. It's an illustration following the text of the story of the Esther Scroll. Here it's an example of Esther Scroll case. It's made of silver, but what is unique about it, that the silver, the repoussé work, it's also illustrations from the Esther Scroll story. So the illustrations are not of the scroll itself, but on the silver case. It's from Vienna. It's from the late 19th century. Here it's an example, again, of Esther Scroll case that was done especially for the Esther Scroll. And you can see the small figure about. It's a Jew in a Jewish costume standing above, and also he served as a role for the Esther Scroll itself. The illustration are started with the blessing before reading the scroll, and there is a scene of the marriage between Esther and Ahasuerus. The men are standing on the right side and the women on the left side, and below it, it's the gallows scenes of the sons of Haman and also here the spices. But this is only towards the entrance of reading the Esther Scroll, and the illustrations, it's all along the way on the margin. Again, it's an example of a very elaborate case made of silver and partly gilt and engraved with scene from the story of Esther. And this is also from Central Europe from the late 19th century.
What do we see in this picture?
What is special about it, first of all, it's the case. You can see it's made of textile. It's leather with textile and the silver thread embroidery. And it's served as a bag for Esther Scroll, but it is from the 16th century. It's from Italy. There is no illustration of figures or some other illustrations, but the interlaced work, it's very delicate and very typical of this early period. This is also unique because usually the Esther Scroll has to be scrolled and rolled, and here they did it as a tiny, very small book. You can see the silver binding. It's like a silver book binding. Again, it's something like 5 centimeters height, and the whole scroll is folded like a book. You can see if we open it, it's like a scroll, and it's very easy to read from it. This is early 19th century. It's Central Europe. This is 18th century, very, very colorful and unique Esther Scroll from Alsace. And you can see here the columns are in circles, the text columns in circles, and each one is completely decorated in another way. Here you can see it's the zodiac sign all around, and the small figures, Jewish, very, very wealthy Jews, celebrating the Purim meal, and here are figures all around. And when you roll it, it's really a surprise, every column and every painting. It's watercolor on parchment. Again, illustrated Esther Scroll, and it's in sepia. Sepia, it's brown ink. Again, the text is written in columns. The artist was inspired from Shalom Italia, the 17th century famous megillah illustrator. It's a very sweet and charming depiction. You can see that he really adored the artist, but he also made some small interpretations that he decided to do. If you see the family scene above, and the small figures, and the hero of the megillah, and it's repeated again and again all along the way. And you can see that it was a folk artist, because if you come closer, you will see that he didn't solve the way of perspective of hand, how to finish the hand and everything, but altogether it's very charming and very sweet depictions. This is also again an early Esther Scroll from late 16th century, and what is unique about it is that you can see all along the upper margin, the upper border, is the text from Amalek till Haman, the lineage from Amalek till Haman, and the quotations from the Bible. And the border below It's a lineage from Shaul the king till Mordechai. And again, it's all calculated with all the Hebrew text and the illustration and the decoration inside. It's very impressive and very touching. It's late 16th century Italy. This is a kind of a mixture because the case itself, it's from Europe. It's silver with a scene from the stories that it's etched on the silver metal. And inside they put an Esther Scrolls applied into it. And Esther Scrolls that it was done in Baghdad in Iraq. But they fitted it to the dimension and they cut it the upper and the lower border, so you cannot see the very rich and colorful illustration that follow the Esther Scroll. But it's also worthwhile to emphasize here the difference of the Oriental and the European Esther Scrolls, that in the Oriental countries there is no figures and it's only floral or geometric colorful pattern, and in the Europeans they were inspired and influenced by the surrounded, and sometimes you can see Italian Renaissance figure or sometimes the European Dutch landscape and home interiors that you can identify in the scrolls themselves. This is a plate for sending portion in Purim, but again it was done in Metz in France in the early 19th century, and you can see also the very elaborate, a very, Napoleon kind of soldier, and also the Haman with the French hat, and the text around it, it's Mishloach manot ish lere'eu umatanot le'evyonim, and also gifts to the poor. This is from Tzfat, from the late 19th century, and it was done by an artist, Moshe Shah, and he inspired the famous artist, the Zeigermacher from Tzfat. But it's a painting, it's not the Esther Scroll, and it was done on glass, and you can see the layer of the story. Above it, on top you see Esther in front of Achashverosh, and then Haman and leading Mordechai on the horse. And there are the soldiers, the Persian soldiers, and below you can see the gallows scene. It's a folk art, and they did it for selling in that time in Tzfat, in Jerusalem, for pilgrims to collect money.
And what year did we say this was?
It's Tafresh. Here it's written that it was done in the year 1893.
1893.
Yes, and here in the holy city of Tzfat. Amen.
Chaya Benjamin, the senior curator of the Judaica department of the Israel Museum, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome to see them in the museum.